Andy Johnson, Minnesota State University. We are looking at the scaffolded reading experience for independent reading. Defining our terms. It is used to enable students to read independently. It is a type of lesson plan specifically for reading. And here is an overview. We'll be going over each one of these: purpose statement, pre-reading, during reading, and post-reading. First of all, the purpose starts with a purpose statement. Now, there's a difference between reading narrative and expository text. Anytime it's narrative text, your purpose statement should be, students will read and enjoy, insert story chapter here. That is the purpose. If they are reading expository text or informational text, your purpose statement should be, students will read and understand, insert title or chapter or book there. Got it? We don't use behavioral objectives, we use purpose statements, and the purpose is different for each type of text. Everything that follows should support the purpose. The goal is for students to read independently. This is not a lesson plan to teach a reading sub-skill. This is a lesson plan to enable students to read independently. That means there is a pre-reading activity, and this should be 2 to 5 minutes. The purpose is to get them ready to read independently. That means I need to provide a scaffold of some sort, hence the name, scaffolded or scaffolded reading experience. And a scaffold is some sort of support that enables students to read the story. And we're going to go over a couple of them. The first one is a story preview. It's like a movie preview. You give them an overview of the story. In the story, such and such happens. Read to find out when. So you've given them the basic structure and one kind of story point to look for. A story map is any visual representation of the salient elements in the story so that they can see it. Again, they have a basic structure of what's going to happen. This is a scaffold that enables them to read independently. And it could be kind of story map like that, or some sort of story map like that. Anything that shows the salient elements. You could activate relevant schemata. Schemata is plural, is a file cabinet in your head. It's the information organized around a topic. This works especially good for expository text. If you are teaching about amphibians, you'd ask students, what do you know about amphibians? And then you'd write that on the board to get that knowledge up there to act as a scaffold to help them read. You could provide background information. Sometimes it's pre-teaching, other times it's presenting the outline with the salient elements. For instance, here's an example of an outline I might use for a reading on scaffolded reading experiences. We'd have the major headings and subheadings, and then they would take notes as they read. Now, depending on students, if I wanted to provide more scaffolding, I may fill in some of these points. All right? Provide the scaffolding to enable students to read independently. A character analysis or a character map or a character web of some sort can provide some sort of structure to get them ready to read. Find a major character or one or two major characters. Here's Cinderella. Here are some adjectives and descriptors or events that supported those adjectives. You can do these a variety of ways. Here's another one. Wilbur, I like to eat, I'm not good at, etc. I'll show you some others. Character, feelings, descriptions, personality, limited only by your imagination. It describes the characters, kind of who they are, and maybe some things that they do. Another example, limited only by your imagination. Character map, character, descriptor, events. Okay? Here's another example of characters. And again, you're limited only by your imagination, your teacher creativity, and intelligence. Character, thinks, does, sees, says, goes, feels. All right? Limited only. You can buy these commercial ones if you want, or you can create your own. Okay, the next one is the story grammar. And a story grammar has, again, the Salient elements, the character, events, and settings that will happen in a story. Every story has these. I like to keep this very, very basic. And before reading, you may tell students the salient or important characters, events, and settings. You may give them all. You may give them some and ask them to fill in as they read or during reading. But keep this simple. Don't get too complicated with story grammar. You may want to identify important vocabulary and teach 3 to 5 important vocabulary words. Now, this works best with informational text, but it could happen, of course, in a story as well. You always, when presenting vocabulary, always want to present new vocabulary in the context of the sentence. And a diagram is good also for identifying and teaching vocabulary words. We have to encounter a word like 40 times before it gets into our sight word vocabulary. Concept map used as an advanced organizer, a concept map that shows a concept, parts of the concept, and their relationship to each other. And as an advanced organizer, you show it before, again, so students can see visually the structure of the concept to be learned about. And of course, this is for informational text. And concept maps come in a variety of ways. A lot of different, it shows the concept, it shows the major subparts and how things relate to it. Here's a concept map, again, limited only by your imagination. 2 important points about the pre-reading experience. Again, the goal is to enable students to read the upcoming text independently. You want to provide a scaffold. And you always want to, at the end of the pre-reading, make a link to the during reading activity. Now, the during reading activity, it's how students will read the assigned reading. Do not use round-robin reading, where students go around the table and read out loud. That's not how real people read. We want them to do these things, silent reading, for the majority of the time. All right? The goal is to enable them to read silently. Well, what if they don't understand? What if they're not comprehending? What if they're not reading? I have to do something to make sure they have to read out loud. No, there are times and places to measure and assess. Remember the purpose. Students will read and understand. Students will read and enjoy. All right? There's places to assess, to measure, but that's not our purpose here. All right? So silent reading is one thing. Buddy reading or partner reading, where they find a partner, they read every other page, every other paragraph. I like this because I can walk around the room with the notebook and I can listen, get a good sense, get some formative assessment, and see how students are reading, processing. If I notice common miscues, I'll write that down, and that will become the basis of my next mini lesson. Whisper read. Now, you can buy these expensive things. I didn't know these exist, where they're reading in a whisper and they can hear it. I've never heard of that before. But whisper read is simply reading a real quiet voice. Again, this is for primary age students. And then shared reading. I won't discuss that in this video, but it is a structured way to present reading so that the whole class can have a shared conversation when that class is multi-level. So that is another way to do it. Now, the post-reading is any activity that invites students to manipulate, extend, apply, analyze, or become engaged with some idea or concept from the story or text. This is where you use your teacher creativity and intelligence. You want to have open-ended activities to the greatest extent possible. Now, again, remember, the purpose is to read and enjoy, not read and have you measure or interrogate them. All right? So we want to create some of these activities to get them to do some of that stuff. And I like Bloom's taxonomy and the action words here. You can stop the video, but all these give me ideas for questions or activities. I could have students rewrite, contrast, predict. I could go to the analysis level, identify parts, combine, evaluation, all these things. All right, this has been an overview of the scaffolded reading experience and how a lesson should look.